Hello, my name is Rania Jabr. I'm a senior instructor in the American University in Cairo. Today I'm going to be talking about a writing course that I give to graduate students and how I'm trying my best to have them use AI responsibly. This is what I'm going to be covering. I'm going to be talking about the problem, offer some solutions, uh, share some tasks I already use with my students, talk about do's and don'ts when it comes to using AI in our classroom, and conclude with some remarks. Um, this is a disclaimer I always give to my students at the beginning of the semester. I have a lot of Gen Z students going for their masters. It's a graduate class, so there are a lot of Gen Z students going for their masters, other graduate students, and their use of AI has become more and more problematic over the semesters. I tell them that AI tools are not the oracle. They're susceptible to hallucinations and can obviously generate inaccurate or misleading information. So we need to fact check. We need to use it very carefully and responsibly. So what is the problem? The problem, especially that I teach writing, is that students use AI. And unfortunately, they think they can just copy paste. They copy paste without a lot of knowledge about what is being copy pasted. And for us, as an American institution, we're very, very focused on academic integrity, and this is considered as cheating. And they over rely on AI tools. Yes, I'm not here to say we should not be using AI tools, but we should be using them responsibly and carefully. So what is the solution? I create AI resistant tasks, and I have them work on their writing using AI. So my assignments are AI compatible, and I hope to make my assignments as learning experiences for the students. So AI is here to stay, and AI can do their assignments, but they still need to know how to write. And I keep mentioning the workplace and how they don't want to embarrass themselves in the workplace and things like that. So I try to create learning experiences that integrate AI, that are collaborative, and that are basically learning journals. They need to be informed about how to use AI, and they have to use it carefully and wisely. This is all part of being digital citizens in this era we live in this day and age. So I've reshaped, reimagined the tasks that I usually use for my classes, and incorporated AI, incorporated writing, and incorporated many other things that would help them, other methods that would help them use AI carefully. Let's see now. First of all, I love debates, and I've always used debates. But then as I realized that students basically come to a debate with AI produced information or output, I find that my debates were falling flat. They weren't as excited. Students used to always be very excited about debates in class. So I said I'm going to go around about it in a different way. So I prompt AI and I say, this is my context. You are an AFL teacher. I teach upper intermediate adult learners, blah, blah, blah. And I ask, and we want to discuss such and such a topic, debate such and such a topic. Please give me 10 debate cards. Then I divide the class into two big groups, one for the topic, one against the topic. The last one we did was basically talking about whether workplaces should go for a 4-day week or a 5-day week, So this is an example of the topics that we discuss. And I divide them into two groups, as I said, and I distribute the cards produced by AI, and I moderate the discussion as if it were a regular class. They're supposed to debate using clues and cues from the cards, the cards that were AI produced. At the end of the debate, I ask students to reflect in writing on their experience. and obviously asking them to compare it with their own viewpoints, especially if they end up having to debate for and against a side that they don't really believe in. They usually report that AI did not really. I tell them that AI has produced this debate card after we finish the debate, and they always come up with very interesting critiques of the AI output. Critical thinking in the making. This is very successful with my students. I also like my students have to write reaction essays and argumentation essays, and I like to have them generate opinions. So this is what I do. I choose a question um, and ask students' opinion about a topic. This is an example of what I discuss with the students. You know, the idea of banning TikTok. And the students give me their initial opinion, and we discuss, we brainstorm, and I have them think of three people, three stakeholders who may have different opinions on this topic. Like, for example, the TikTok producers themselves, parents, TikTok users, teenagers, and ask students what they think these people would say. What would be their opinions? After discussion and after, compiling some, insights, I have the students themselves prompt AI and ask AI to act in each one of these roles, answering the question. Sometimes I give different groups, a different role from the three stakeholders we talked about, or I just have them do it as they want. They can just try to find what AI says about the three roles. At the end, the students compare and contrast their answers. They can create a table, they can create a diagram, a Venn diagram, for example, to show the different opinions. They love to have these, tables at the end, and to compile their thoughts on what AI said. And they always end up critiquing what AI suggested, especially when it comes to cultural issues and cultural topics and how our culture, our Arab culture, thinks of AI and things like that. The students then reflect on how they changed their opinion based on what AI gave them, whether they changed their opinion or whether they are now sticking to their opinion and believing that they were right and AI was wrong. This idea of having a conversation with AI, let's say in a manner of speaking. Um, the next big thing actually is bias. I find that students sometimes are unable to detect bias on their own, and that we as educators, especially writing teachers, if we're teaching them to write reaction papers, reaction essays to controversial topics, if we're teaching them to write argumentative essays to controversial topics, they need to be able to pinpoint and highlight bias. And I do this in several ways, but I'm going to share a couple of ways with you. I ask my students to generate, let's say, to through AI, a poster or a picture about Egyptians, about Arabs, about Ramadan, about something that is culture based. And basically, what is produced, the output, unfortunately, is disappointing. We either get, for Egyptians, maybe blonde children running around with blue eyes, or something that is, or maybe face veil, that women are face veiled. When we asked AI to generate pictures about whether women should work or should stay at home, all the pictures or the majority of the pictures were for the idea of women staying at home, taking care of, household chores and stuff like that. And trying to basically project what the Arab society is like. Anyway, so the output that's generated usually most of the time is disappointing, is biased, unfortunately, and we start analyzing the images and see what the images show and how would the images be different if we ask the question differently. Why is the image a bad representation of our society or inappropriate? or doesn't really capture our society. And we try to focus on the stereotypes. Are there any stereotypes? And how would this image become better? How can we change it? And the effects of these biased images. And of course, I have students at the end write a comparison contrast paragraph or a comparison contrast essay, or something as simple as basically maybe creating a table with comparison items and contrast items. As for fake news, I love this point because basically we are in the day of age where fake data and fake images and fake information is everywhere, especially on social media. And I want to teach students the lesson of being able to critically think and try to judge what they read and see, especially now with the control of AI and how AI can basically even produce fake videos. So basically, I prompt AI to give me a fake news article about whatever topic, let's say unemployment or the retirement age or anything. Um, and make it, I ask and I prompt it and I have a conversation with AI and I say, make it so credible that the public would easily believe, readers would believe. And I have students critique the article. Do you agree? Does it sound credible? Are there enough, is there enough evidence? Are there sources? Like I teach them about sources. And it's very interesting that sometimes, depends on the class, they are unable to identify that it's fake. I never tell them that it's fake till the end of the experience. Most of the time, they, at the beginning of the semester at least, they will not identify it as fake. I put them in small groups and I tell them, okay, now that we know that it's fake, let's see how you're going to go about it. Try to generate a fake news article and with a matching picture, and let's see what AI gives us. And of course, at the end, I always have students reflect, whether orally or in writing, about their experience. Sometimes I go about it in a different way. I mix real news articles with fake news articles. And I asked this to go about it in a way where I asked students to identify and to try to figure out which ones are fake, which ones are real. The ensuing discussion is very interesting. I find that students are able to identify fake images or images that are generated by AI that are not really representative of what they're supposed to be representative. But maybe with stories and articles, they're not very adept at identifying them. So we discuss this and we reflect in writing on their experience. In addition to this, my students have to write, as I said, essays, and they have to use sources. So first of all, I have them go to Google Scholar and generate sources for their articles and create a reference list. And then I ask them to put it aside, set it aside, and try to generate sources for their article, for their essays from AI, ChatGPT. And basically, unfortunately, then they realized that ChatGPT would give false references, incomplete references, inaccurate information. And because I found out that the go-to place for them primarily is AI. And they ask AI, of course, to generate a list of references, which then turn out to be inaccurate or fake or just basically some hallucinations. So I taught them to go about it in the other way around. So, maybe go use Docs, Google Scholar first, check it out against AI, or use AI. That's fine by me, but also then verify using the university library or Google Scholar. So do's and don'ts. The students are, to my mind, let's say, co-creators in this day and age because of the availability of AI and the ease of AI and the access to AI. We cannot basically pretend it doesn't exist. So, but we need to teach them that basically there are rules and there are expectations. So at any point in time, I can, in my writing class, have students share their own perspective, critique AI, assess what AI produces. That's very good. The goal or the purpose is to have them understand that AI is an assistant. It's a buddy. It is not the only main source of information. I noticed that even some students have resorted to asking AI about how they feel when they read an article, how they feel when they watch a video. And I was horrified at the beginning. I said, why are you doing that? And they said, we're supposed to write a reaction essay, or we have to react to an article or to a video. And I'm like, yes, but I'm sure it's not going to be able to tell you about your own personal feelings. So I have shifted the way I'm expecting things from my students. My expectations have changed. My assignments have changed. I have shifted the focus from product to process. Everything is a process. Even tiny little assignments are a process. Um, I don't want them to find just information. I want them to go through the experience and reflect on the experience. Tell me, how did it go? How did it work out? How did they go about it? What steps did they take when they're using AI? I also have them do things collaboratively. This idea of like two minds coming together and trying to judge whether what AI produces and to have a conversation with AI and fine tune their prompting. Working alone, I've noticed when you with AI gets this idea to their in their mind that they're basically here to receive the output, but not to critique and not to judge. So basically, I have them do these assignments in collaboration. Um, Peers teaching each other how to use AI, judging or critiquing what AI does is better than me telling them about it. They believe each other and they learn from each other more, I believe. Um, and then here comes the application from real world. This is extremely important in writing because I keep telling them in your essays, in your papers, in your assignments, you need to apply, link to the real world, link to your community, link to what's happening in the world around you. And then AI gives them these weird examples, these general, vague examples that might not be true, might not be realistic, might not be what actually happens in our context, in our community. So, and this is where I have them compare and contrast and basically judge whether this is applicable to our real world situation. And of course, to critically analyze, not just get information from AI. Information, I tell them, I tell them culls information, but you need to analyze and criticize and decide whether it's appropriate to include in your essay or not. Is it appropriate to use an example or not? My famous example is when they were talking about whether people should retire at the age of 60 or whether we should cancel the age of retirement. And one of the students talked about, retirees in Egypt going to, enjoying their life and playing sports. Okay, sounds good. But then started giving examples of kayaking in the Nile. I don't think really this is actually what retirees do in Egypt, and I don't think kayaking is one of the favorite sports for Egyptians. So, you know, real life world application. Um, so basically, we need to analyze, our students and us, we need to analyze and critique AI generated text. It's always a very useful activity. We need to ask students to compare output from different tools. And of course, they have access to there are several free tools. And I have them compare. What does ChatGPT say, Gemini say, Claude, others, and basically and they can investigate and find what is it best suited for. Is it a video? Is it a table? Is it quick answers? Which tool helps them find information easily and better? This is a very good exercise also to compare tools. Um, I use, the idea of using AI as a jump board to talk about plagiarism, authorship, and bias. Academic integrity, as I said earlier, is very important in our university. Students think that when the university sends an email and say, these are the available tools, and they give you samples of the tools or links to the tools, it means go ahead, copy paste, cheat, and plagiarize, and basically pretend that this information is yours. So we have a discussion on that. And I always now find that it's very important that students explain their learning and their thought process. We have a lot of individual conferences with our students after writing a written product for our courses, and I meet with them and I ask them, "What were you thinking? How did you go about thinking about this? Why are you doing this? Why are you adding this particular example? What do you mean? What is the purpose?" This is my way to check that they actually wrote this product. They didn't just copy paste stuff from AI. And basically also to tell them how to go about it when they critically think about AI output. I very clearly explained to them that in this case you are allowed to use AI, but in that case you're not allowed to use AI. So they know when they're supposed to use it and when not to. And this is why we need to check and have them explain, have a conversation with them and explain their learning and thought process. If they can't defend their answers, if they can't defend their examples, then they probably have used AI when they're not supposed to. Reflection, as you saw from my sample tasks, is part and parcel of my writing class, orally and in writing, even if it's a brief little paragraph of 250 words. um, it gives me a lot of insight about what's going on in their minds and what they're doing. And of course this I had to resort to writing reflections in class so that I can see the difference between their actual writing in class in front of me live and what they produce at home, which many of the times unfortunately is AI used when they're not supposed to use or AI generated. I bring in current events to see that they are aware of what's going on and how to incorporate it in their example. I always add a personal element in their reaction essays. Tell me what you think. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear you speaking. And I have them tell me if they have used AI to give me screenshots in their Google Drive folder or in the appendix. If they have used, when they ask them to use it, give me screenshots. Show me how you've done it. In conclusion, I will be done in 1 minute. We want to enhance student learning using AI, not replace student learning. We want to integrate it in our classes because, as I believe, in a Formula One race, I don't think we can go into the race riding a horse. Things have changed. We want to train students to use AI responsibly and address their concerns related to bias, plagiarism, academic integrity, harness its value. It's a study buddy, not a cheat sheet. This is my these are my famous words, and I keep repeating them ad nauseum in my classes. It's a study buddy, not a cheat sheet. Thank you very much. Here are my references. Should you have any questions, I'm ready to answer any questions.
Rana, could I just ask you to go back a couple slides? Please keep
Yes,
sharing.
yes,
I get a screen capture for my own information. I'm
yes. Couple of
spreading
slides, just a
very
second.
fast as you.
To where, do you know?
I expect them
Which
to do
slide?
a reflection just before the conclusion, I think.
Just
Before
before
the
the conclusion. Yes, I had a couple of reflection points.
uh, um,
This one or that one?
the next one. Okay, yes, this is useful for me. Let me grab a screenshot.
Please.
I mean, because I find myself now, yes, writing, making them write a reflection,
Yes.
making them write without any papers in the class. Now
Yes,
you're teaching quite advanced students. If you're teaching master's students, okay?
yes,
Because for me, a lot of what you brought in, the students already have a certain proficiency level. They're already certainly intrinsically motivated, or they wouldn't be doing a master's at AUC, right? That's fair.
right.
So, how do you incorporate the reflection um, into the into the rubric for how you assess their writing? And for me, like, I think a good use of AI is to proofread and correct grammar at the end.
Yes,
Even, you know native speakers and non-native speakers are using it with their finished product before they send it for publication. Is
right.
that, I mean, so how do you incorporate this into the rubric?
Yeah. You see, they have to write multiple drafts for their essay, draft one and draft two. They're not, when we're in the process of submitting drafts, they're not allowed to use AI. After I, they write draft one, I have a conference with them, they write draft two. After draft two, when I return the finished product to them with my comments, then they go to AI and they input their fragments and runnels, for example, and ask for corrections, input their vocabulary and ask for better words, stronger words, for like self-learning, self-improvement. I call it sharpening your own saw, but I don't have them polish their draft one before they submit draft two using AI. Then what's the point? You see, it's a writing class. I have them, for example, also in pairs. We have the peer editing. In pairs, they go basically input the main points of their colleague and they come up with some suggested solutions for better or stronger main points and subpoints. So I have to strategically, let's say, orchestrate when they use AI and for what purpose, and also at which point in the semester.
It's challenging. I have
It is
to say.
very challenging. Of course, I catch them with 85% similarity to AI, 50% similarity to AI, and then we meet and I read them the riot act. I don't mean to punish them, but I mean to tell them, like, I'm not forbidding you, but you need to use it when you're supposed to use it, for the purpose you're supposed to use it.
And I think it's, I mean, you do have high level proficiency students who are quite capable and highly motivated. I think it's even more challenging to teach, undergraduates in their first year or second year who have quite low proficiency levels, and probably, I hate to say this, but probably AI will replace the need for academic writing eventually.
I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't. Let's see how it happens. But I mean, if we're trying to re-envision our classes and say something like, okay, we're gonna co-author with AI. Give me citations, cite AI, give me screenshot, tell me how you used it. But don't
Mhm.
pass it off as if it's your own writing.